welcome to Opening Up in Lockdown, Day 2. Anyone else starting to feel like they need a haircut? I certainly am. How was yesterday for you? I'm wondering if there's anyone out there who watched that video yesterday and thought you shouldn't be sharing all that information about yourself. It's too much. You're oversharing. Or your life's fine. You always seem happy. You've got nothing to be anxious about. Why are you telling us that? In some cases, in some ways, you are probably right. I am extremely lucky with my life. I've got a roof over my head. I've got a girlfriend. I've got a job. I've got things that I should be grateful for, and I am grateful for. But despite all those things, I still am feeling the way that I'm feeling, and that for me is part of where the stigma lies, is that because it's invisible and because I'm not very good at explaining it, and because I don't fully understand it, it's really hard sometimes to get it across. I actually find it easier to talk to a camera than I am to talk about it to other people. It's easier to talk to strangers about it than it is to my friends and family. It's a very weird one, and I'm conscious that I'm betting that there's more people out there watching this thinking that it is an acceptable thing to do than that it isn't. And the more I do talk to my friends and people that I care about, the more I'm finding that they're feeling the same way, or that they can share some of their previous experiences or something with me. And so I suppose these videos are about trying to make that point that it's all right to share it regardless of what it is. You know, if I've broken my leg, I wouldn't have a problem telling you that I couldn't function properly. I couldn't come to your event. I couldn't do that thing, and you'd have no problem talking to me about it. You know, the whole thing would be easy to discuss for us. So why is it so much more difficult when it's invisible and it's in our heads? So it's a little bit about that. I hope that you've taken some of that away. If you've got any thoughts or you want to share your own suggestions, you can comment or you can send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. But yes, sharing helps, articulating it, putting it out there, making it real, and you know, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Let's share each other's experiences. So today I wanted to talk about the reticular activating system. Now, I'm not going to get too scientific on you because I don't know exactly how it works. All I know is that we all have one, and it's a piece of our brains, a little piece of our brains that acts as the gateway for all the information that we receive on a daily basis. Silly amount of audio, visual information that we're constantly getting from telly, from conversations, from reading, marketing, all that stuff, all those megapixels of data that we're consciously managing to ignore if it's not relevant, or concentrate on if it is. The reticular activating system acts as that filter for us. And so it's why you might hear your name in a crowded room when it's called out. It's because you're trained to know that that's relevant information. It's why if you decide you want to buy a new car, once you've sort of thought about what model you might like, you'll start to see that model everywhere. It's just all over. And that's not a coincidence. That's because you have trained your brain into filtering that information to the forefront and telling you, look, this is important to you. You told me that this is something you wanted to see more of. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, and I think it fits in nicely with the idea of articulating into the world what it is that we want, because there's a blessing and a curse with it. It can be tricked and it can be hacked, and the curse, I suppose, is the idea that we can look for reasons where we might fail, or where we might have previously had difficulties or struggles. So if you've burnt dinner once, you think, I'm not going to cook a Sunday roast again. I can't cook a roast. So you don't try, you don't learn, you don't grow through that situation. Public speaking's one that often gets people, and it's got me before. You know, I now do it quite a little bit more in my small business, and I do it a little bit more at work, and I've spoken at a couple of friends' weddings. And, you know, that's quite an honour to be asked to do something like that, and it should be an enjoyable process, but actually it can be really nerve-wracking. Despite, for me, never remembering a time when I did something particularly bad publicly, you know, but I think it's not a coincidence that people get that, because it feeds directly into this inner chimp that we've all got. We've all got this inner ancient kind of process that happens, fight or flight mode, when we we get that panic, like I'm going to have to do something to get out of this. Run for the hills. Don't put yourself out there for that reason. And I think it feels primal and it feels ancient because it's probably it's evolutionary. We've come so far in such a short time, probably between 10 and, I don't know, 100,000 years ago. We'll have been hunter-gatherers who would have had to worry about where our next meal was coming from or if we'd have to fight off someone. Whereas now it's more subtle than that, but those feelings are still there. And so our reticular activating system can feed into that. If we have had a bad speech that's gone badly or something like that, we might think, I'm just not going to do that again. And so we need to be careful about tricking our reticular activating systems to point out reasons for us to fail and point out things for us to avoid. One way of doing that is called appreciative inquiry. So that would be trying to reframe problems with positives, and it's a hard thing to do. It's something that we're not wired up to do naturally. But instead of thinking, well, that went wrong, how can I fix it? What should I do to avoid that happening again? Instead, trying to look at it and point out the things that people did enjoy, those things that people did respond well to. What are the positive bits of feedback, and do more of them rather than having to steer clear of ever doing any of it ever again. And so that's something that's helped me a little bit. And yeah, trying to tap into the blessing of the reticular activating system, which is that you can trick it by. It doesn't discriminate against what's good or what's harmful. You can tell it what you want. You can tell yourself what you want. It's the reason why you'll see athletes and maybe like performers and people like that will chant to themselves, you've got this, you're gonna do this. You might see people with posters of winners. You might see people writing down what success looks like, and that's because you've articulated it. It's into the world. It's real. You've seen it, and so now, whatever it might be, you will start to see doors open. Things will happen. That book, The Secret, would have you believe that it's some ancient mystical sort of law of attraction that you tell the world what you want and it will deliver. It's not that. It's that the opportunities have been there. You're telling yourself. And you're setting yourself up to see those opportunities, to grab that thing that gets you 1% closer to where you need to be. So for me, despite the year I've had with my mental health, I've moved house. I'm doing up a house with my girlfriend. I've working full time. I've managed to compress my hours down so that I've got more time to start a new business. I've become a coach. I'm training myself, believe me, this isn't me trying to brag about all the things I have done, because I'm nowhere near where I want to be right now. I'm getting there, but I have a long way to go still. But I guess all I'm trying to do is say that despite all those things that I know are not going right for me, if you train yourself to, you can still look for those opportunities for achievement, for those things that you can grab onto that will get you there, and not always believe that voice in your head that's telling you that you're going to fail and that you can't do this. Because it's not always right. It's not always, you can't always believe it. It can be tricked, and you're not the sum of what you believe that you're worth. Sometimes, you're full of potential, and that potential is kind of wrapped up in all that baggage that we carry with us, and it's being carried by some ancient chimp who's kind of trying to protect us. And worry and anxiety can be functional, and it can protect us from harm, but the reality is that and I know that some of it is not real and it's not right, and although it can feel all encompassing, because when you get those physical feelings that come along with those thoughts and emotions, that can feel true, it can feel real, and so we've got to try and fight against that by finding reasons to prove ourselves right. And when you do it, appreciative inquiry, that time went well. That was that time that my brain was wrong about me. That was that time when it got it all wrong, and actually I did succeed. And how can I review and take the best from those situations as I possibly can? So articulate it into the world. Tell yourself write down what it is that you really want, and then let your reticular activating system do some of the work for you. Let it kind of point out those things, and when they look for them, the more you look for them, the more they will be there. I'm going to give you one little task, and again, it might have been easier when we're not in lockdown, but it depends on your situation. If you're still going out into the world and shopping and all that sort of stuff, it might still work. If not, then save it. But what I want you to do is tell yourself, at the start of the day or after this video or whatever, I'm going to spend the next 24 hours trying to give as much positive feedback as I possibly can to everybody who I can give it to. So it can be whatever, you know, if somebody's particularly polite to you or is doing a good job, or, you know, key workers out there working hard despite the situation we're in, whatever it might be, someone wearing a nice hat, you know, stuff that you might have thought in your head at some point. I want you to put it into action and give that person that feedback and look for those avenues for connection. And I bet you that there's more of them than you would have normally seen. Now you're looking for them. Now your reticular activating system is prepped to look for those things. I'm betting there'll be more of them than you thought. And also, you're going to make a few people's day along the way, and so that can't be a bad thing either. So have a go at that. A bit daft, I know, but I just, you know, it's worked for me, and I hope that it's something that you can use if you're interested in it. Google it, you know, like I say, I'm giving you very limited information, what I've got, you know, a brief introduction to what I've learned. So do Google it. If you've got any thoughts, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And yes, I've been banging on for more than 10 minutes now, so I shall let you go, and I will see you tomorrow.